in this video, we are going to be talking about this big winter storm that is going to roll across the United States, bringing ice, rain, and snow. And this is our system right over here, and this energy is going to trick down south into the Oklahoma area. So now, this stream of moisture that's coming across the Rockies is going to re-intensify in the plains and bring severe weather in the deep south. And as this moisture is now pluming into the west, it's going to bring a lot of moisture. Now, there is this lingering spin is still going to bring some lake effect snow across the Midwest. You see this little spin right here, and that was a little bit of a clipper, so very weak spin. Well, it brought some lake effect showers across on Lake Erie, and it's now moving offshore. Soon. It's going to be moving offshore soon. So, yeah. And so the wind flow for the jet stream, it's about like this. We have this big trough, then this big dying trough that's sitting over here. And you have this high pressure system. This high pressure system is going to be the leading factor for this storm. So right now it's sitting over Texas, New Mexico, Nevada, and the Four Corners. And that's because of this system right here. It's going to be your winter storm. But this eventually is going to be moving west. And eventually it's going to be right here, near California and Nevada and New Mexico. And that's gonna bring some air like this. The wind flow will be like this. So then this trough will weaken a bit, but you now have a direct path. Across the east coast and the plains. It will all be following the jet stream. The high pressure will kind of move south a little bit and weaken, causing it to dip south and kind of bring a severe weather threat, as it'll kind of be a negatively tilted trough, as this cooler air will actually be plummeting behind it. Don't mind that, but it's gonna be a low pressure system gonna barrel through. Eventually, it's gonna bring some big snow to the Midwest as it moves across. Eventually, it will weaken and move offshore, but it will cause 12 to as much as 24 inches of snow in these areas, and a big ice storm through this corridor, and a rain, a flash flooding, and severe weather that will be through this corridor. And you should see this flare up in about 3 days or so. And let's move on to the track. And his low pressure system is going to come in to the coast, slam into the west coast, and then start to dip south, then move in and rapidly intensify before moving off. And again, there would be 12 to 18 inches of snow, possibly 24, but it seems unlikely. But a major ice storm is very likely. Severe weather outbreaks with very damaging winds, small hail, and isolated tornadoes, as this negatively tilted trough will be present. And yeah, the west coast will be warmer. Plus, the colder air can be sinking in. It's gonna be bad. But so let's take this out in time. So we have this spin right over here, right? It's bringing some very strong winds. And bringing some very strong winds in the northeast. And plus the high pressure system it's bringing very strong winds and up to 40-mile-per-hour gusts could be recorded. And it's getting pretty cold, and the wind chills will be dropping. And here's our system here. So here we go out in time. So here's our piece of energy on Saturday, and bringing some snow and rainfall to the Rocky Mountains, but mostly light. But it'll be mostly light, and this high pressure system will not budge, and this low pressure system will die. This trough will form, bringing even more wind, even more strong wind to the northeast and the eastern seaboard. So let's track this area right here. So now the system has now exited the Rocky Mountains and now in the plains. So it's still causing some snow to the Rocky Mountains, but it's mostly now getting focused into this corridor. And this high pressure system right here is drawing up tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and some parts of the Caribbean. And as we go out in time, this system starts to form. So we get those 4 layers. I like to call this an ice cream storm, where you got 4 flavors. You got rain through here. You got freezing rain through here. Then you got sleet through here. Then you got snow through the rest. It's kind of like an ice cream cone. So you have your mint chip, which is your green, which is the rain. And then you have your strawberry flavor, which is freezing rain. And then you have your what should I call it? Blueberry flavor? Let's just say grape flavor. Grape flavored ice cream. And then you have the big scoop of blueberry ice cream on top. And eventually, the system becomes a mega system. Let me go back out. The system becomes a big mega system. This high pressure keeps moving south as this strengthens. And this high pressure is going to bring very cold air and blizzard conditions, as these isobars are going to be so close together, as I'll zoom in just a minute, but it will be very windy on the backside, and it'll be very, very cold. Very cold. And as we go out in time, this line of storms forms on Monday midnight. Very moderate to heavy snow will be on the backside, and moderate to heavy sleet, of a very thin layer of sleet, and then a freezing rain, very heavy freezing rain, which would be almost 3/4 of an inch of ice on the ground in this corridor, which does not sound like a lot, but it's a lot. The cars will be slipping off the roads. Please avoid traveling as much as possible. Or if you are, you must drive slowly. And when I say slowly, I mean under 40 miles per hour. Under 40 miles per hour. No more than 40 miles per hour. And if there is 3/4 of an inch of ice, you should at least go below 20 miles per hour, because it'll be very slippery. And without the ice that will be coming through, probably, you will need to drive very slowly, or numerous accidents will happen. And on top of that, the snow, if you're unlucky, the snow and the ice may stack on top of each other, which means you can't see the ice, and it makes it even more slippery and even more dangerous. Which, again, those blizzard conditions on the back side of this low, with severe weather extending from what it looks like to me, Mississippi all the way down to New Orleans, and that's really all I see. But I think there might be Tennessee in there, but I don't know. But and I have heard of people talking about some kind of thunder snow possible, which is possible technically with this freezing rain so close to the snow, which could be possible to have thunder snow. But let's go on. And the system starts to weaken, and so does this line. You shouldn't just get to be an unorganized mess of thunderstorms that will be heading towards northern Florida. And maybe some more blizzard conditions, but not likely. Not likely for blizzard conditions. And this high pressure system will move all the way south. There's also a strong low pressure that's going to bring this motion, which is going to bring some offshore flow, which is going to bring some very dangerous seas. And here is our next system, coming through the Rockies, and the winds will start to calm down, but still blizzard conditions are possible. And soon that freezing rain and snow will start to calm down, but again, there is still some ice over here, so that snow will be stacking on top of on the ice. So then we have this through here. Actually, I think we can just upload to a new model. Yeah, the 12Z is out. So let's just go to that real quick. That was this morning. Wait 1 minute. Okay, here we go. So this system ejects from the Pacific Northwest, and it will bring some more snow, some lighter snow to the Rocky Mountains before it ejects down to the south, because this system has already moved out. So this high pressure system will act like a blocker. It'll keep it from moving this way. It'll have to move southward. And here, low pressure forms as it starts to connect with the jet stream and has a direct path with tropical moisture and Arctic air that's going to be colliding to make snow in some parts of Louisiana and Texas, like some places like Shreveport, Houston, Dallas. So we'll get some snow, and as we move on in time, this low pressure system strengthens, and possibly on this model run, snow gets into Mexico, into northern Mexico. I'm not saying it won't happen, but it's pretty unlikely for it to happen, because this cold air would have to sink in all the way over here, even though it's focusing on the east coast. It's really focusing on the east coast because this low pressure system is bringing wind flow like this away from the western U.S. But on this model, it shows that it might just slingshot over there on the west coast. And eventually, this low pressure system becomes its own system, self-sustaining system. No more orographic lift needed, and now it's a self-sustaining system. But snow for Florida is now, snow chances for northern Florida have diminished a lot, but freezing rain chances have also diminished a little bit, but still not out of the woods. And then this system becomes a bit more elongated, so it kinda is not as strong. So any East Coast storm would be unlikely to possibly impossible. Yeah, but this system will strengthen again, bringing some sort of snow, but not as heavy as we thought it would be. But it does get pretty strong off the coast. Early on, we were predicting that it would strengthen rapidly, but then just miss the United States. And that's what seems to be the case here. And more cold air plunges, but it's not as intense as the Arctic air that plunged. The Arctic air has now resided over here, but any little stronger low pressure system could bring this back down into the U.S. And we're going very far out in time, but at the end of here, we could see another low pressure system try to form and bring some more rain to Florida. But just for the sake of it, just for the fun of it, we're gonna go past 10 days out. Which anything you see past January 15th, 2025, it's probably not true. But there are some indications that that's not the final storm. As a weak high pressure starts to build this flow again. And that's been our key component for severe weather, high pressure over Florida, over South Florida to be specific. This generates a warm air mass, and then if there's a low pressure system, the jet stream steers some of this air this way, causing it to be a risk for tornadoes, like we had with that moderate risk, which was pretty bad and historic. And yet again, this strong low pressure system will have a cold front that may form another system that's much weaker. And guess what? In this model run, it brings down that cold air again. The Arctic air will come in again at the late in January, and it shows an East Coast storm going up the East Coast. So it's a nor'easter, an elongated nor'easter for that matter, but still shows a nor'easter. And it's a pretty strong nor'easter, but a pretty elongated nor'easter as well. And this is probably a GFS fantasy land, but I still think that another low pressure could form and become a potential East Coast storm if it hugs the coast and stays strong. If there isn't a low pressure system sitting over here, instead of a high pressure system steering it this way, so what you need for a winter storm is high pressure steering warm air northward or northeastward for moisture. That's the moisture source. Okay. Then you need a low pressure system to form either in the Rocky Mountains or the plains for it to have spin. And the final thing you need and the last two things you need for a winter storm is the jet stream needs to be strong and steer up the East Coast. For the favorable pattern of an East Coast track. And the final thing you need is winds blowing inland. Specifically when there's the high pressure system. I drew a hay there. And you need a moisture source. So you need a moisture source, a lift and rotation source, and a steering source. That's the jet stream, high pressure system, moisture, and steering. So when all of that comes together, you can get a storm that travels along the East Coast. Kind of like Hurricane Sandy which I do not want to bring back the memories, but this can also happen with low pressure systems that enter the East Coast when there's warm waters. And when there's steering flow, like when there's a low pressure system heading out of the US and a low pressure heading in, this creates the spinning motion that drives it up the East Coast. And that was present during Hurricane Sandy. And there was also a high pressure present in the north during Hurricane Sandy. So, the path would be somewhat like this. It'll be steered offshore, but then that high pressure would steer it way back inland. Would steer it inland once it got there. If that high pressure wasn't there and was placed by a low pressure system, it would just go out to sea, like most models were forecasting. But a few models then said it's going to curve back because of the high pressure system. And it made this combo made a perfect thing for a winter storm, for a nor'easter. It's a hurricane plus a nor'easter. And that's what caused the devastating winds. It's like a hurricane, but brought devastating snow and rain and flooding, like a nor'easter. And I think we only have a few more minutes. It's kind of wasted all that time. But let's just go for a quick overview of what will happen. So as we get on January 4th, some showers will be around for this corridor, and some freezing rain, sleet, snow, and that will start to intensify as we get into the afternoon, but still some light showers moving through, some more snow, a bit windier, and sleet, freezing rain. And as we get out in time, as we get on the evening, the thunderstorms start to line up, and it's a group of thunderstorms that line up, and the winds start to get stronger on the backside, and blizzard conditions are probably going to be reported, and the ice cream layer, before it forms into a condensed line of thunderstorms and a squall line. Again, blizzard conditions and very bad. One thing before we go. Severe weather. Have to hurry up. And they have issued a slight risk for severe weather for that day. I think this is the end of our recording here. So this is JFB Forecast, logging off. And remember, don't be scared, be prepared.